that rise in kidnapping of foreign business owners continues unabated. One expert says foreign business owners have become easy targets as they often don't have legal status to be in the country. Willem Els from the Institute for Security Studies joins us to discuss this further. A very good evening to you, Willem, and thank you as always for joining us. Let's start with the growing trend of the kidnapping of foreign businessmen. What would you say is the major cause of them being targeted in particular?
Good evening to you. Yes, as you rightly mentioned, it seems that they are targeting a lot of our foreign businessmen, and we see that there is a link between your racketeers that move in for extortion money and protection money. It's easy money for them. We see that they are looking at up to 500,000 rand per month that they are extorting from these businesses in order to so-called protect them. That is an alarming increase, not only in the Western Cape, but also in the Eastern Cape and in Gauteng province.
Now, after the Motti brothers were kidnapped and subsequently found, we did see the establishment, or rather the ramping up of a kidnapping task force. Would you say that it's done enough to try and perhaps curb the current scourge?
Yes, we saw that they managed to establish 3 task teams in the country, provincial task teams in terms of these kidnapping for ransom. That is in Gauteng, in the Western Cape, as well as in the Eastern Cape. But we also see your challenges that they face is, it's a tremendous involvement of your state actors, where we see that these groups are being protected by high-ranking police officers and law enforcement officers. And wherever you actually see arrests, it seems that very often amongst the arrests are police officers as well.
A very interesting development indeed, and it leads me to another part of our conversation around the sophistication of these syndicates. Apart from the police involvement, or the high-ranking police that you find are involved in these kidnappings, how sophisticated are these syndicates? What exactly is it that we're fighting here when it comes to intelligence really stopping or curbing these incidents before they happen, or rescuing the people before any violence takes place?
Yeah, on the one hand, these groups are very sophisticated. We see that in some of the incidents, they're even targeting people who received the payout of some inheritance, and we see that the extortion amount is the exact amount of what was paid out to these people. So they have their tentacles all over. They gather their intelligence. They know exactly what these targets can afford to pay, and then they extort them according to that amount. So these guys are very well organized. We see that there are links with, amongst others, the taxi industry. We see that your organized crime syndicates that used to operate in different areas are now combining. They are getting together and they are pooling all their resources in order to do this. What started off as a fairly international, sophisticated syndicates that operated mainly from Mozambique and established them in South Africa, we see now that your copycat gangs also started to emerge. So you've got your more sophisticated gangs that are operating, but also the copycat gangs that are operating. On the question about the police and the task team, yes, in the first place, it is very difficult if you have been compromised for the police to do investigations, and that's why we also see that the State Security Agency has been deployed in order to assist with the investigations. And that is very important because, all of these investigations starts with good intelligence. When you've got good intelligence, you can also, as you rightly mentioned, preempt some of these incidents.
Let's talk about some of the other reasons that we might see the extortion of these foreign nationals that are business people in South Africa. Could it be that it's perhaps an easier way to get large sums of actual cash than a traditional cash in transit heist or other robberies like bank robberies?
Yes, it seems to be the case. When you perpetrate a cash in transit robbery, the logistics, the organization of the whole syndicate is much more intricate. You have to use explosives, etc., etc. So that is a much bigger and a much more risky operation. Where we look at these kidnap, ransom and extortion syndicates, the risk is very low. They do not need all that resources, and the yield is fairly good in terms of cash for them.
Now, some research that your organization did indicate that at some point the South African Police Service should be replicating the system that has been implemented by Gauteng as a province, the aggravated robbery strategy. Have the SAPs heeded this call? Has there been any collaboration of some sort to assist in strengthening the police force when it comes to dealing with kidnappings?
It is emerging. We see that there are some efforts. We see also some efforts from the Hawks head office to deploy and assist in the provinces to pool the resources, etc., etc. What is also very important that you mentioned that is that a lot of the skills and the skills base of the police have left the police in recent years, and is actually situated in the private sector at the moment. And it's very important. The police alone cannot combat this phenomenon, and it is important that they take hands with the private sector. The private sector say your security companies are there. They have got a lot of expertise that they can also offer, and it is time maybe that we enhance that cooperation in order to overcome this challenge.
I suppose it is for this reason, Willem, that we've seen quite a significant increase in the number of security or private security agencies that have mushroomed in different parts of the country, as more and more business people, individuals and businesses in general would demand their services simply because of the skill set that they bring above and beyond the SAPs.
That is the one side, yes. But the other challenge that you also have, we mentioned the police being compromised. The trust of the police, unfortunately so, is at all-time low levels at the moment. And effectively taking on this challenge for the police is actually an ideal opportunity for them to redeem themselves in order to restore that trust with the public, because this is something that is in our face, that is something that is affecting the man in the street more and more and day by day because of the just snowballing of this phenomenon.
Willem, thank you very much for those insights this evening. That is Willem Els from the Institute for Security Studies joining us this evening to speak about the scourge in the kidnappings of foreign nationals that are businessmen operating in different parts of the country.